I'm on the hunt for the victims of a serial killer. Peter Tobin is in prison for killing 3 women. But I suspect he could have murdered many more.
I think that Peter Tobin has killed many other victims and their bodies will be buried somewhere.
I'm Mark Williams-Thomas, and throughout my career as an investigator, I've exposed some of the UK's most infamous crimes. I started investigating the disappearance of 18-year-old Louise Kay, and it led me to uncover other cases of young women who have gone missing or been murdered over the past 40 years.
This is a map of potential victims. Truly shocking.
Now my investigation takes me to Tobin's hometown of Glasgow, and one of the most notorious set of unsolved murders in Britain. 3 young women abducted and murdered in 1977.
This was an organised, brutal crime.
I tracked down eyewitnesses.
I don't know why this man has never been charged.
Find evidence that could point to the killer's true identity.
You've got a good look at him?
Yeah, that's him.
Are these the victims of a serial killer who has got away with their murder for over 40 years? My investigation into the Scottish serial killer Peter Tobin has led me to his hometown of Glasgow. Over a period of 4 months in 1977, 3 women went out for the evening and never returned home. On the 5th of August, 20-year-old Anna Kenny was at a pub and disappeared shortly after leaving.
She was always laughing and joking, never ever seen her sad or anything. She was just a joy to be around, put it that way.
Her remains were found on remote Scottish farmland. Two months later, on Saturday the 1st of October, Hilda McAuley, a divorced mother of 2, went on a rare night out. The following morning, she was found strangled and sexually assaulted.
The manners of the deaths of the girls too suggested to us that this was someone who had done it before and would do it again.
On the 2nd of December, a 3rd woman was killed. Agnes Cooney was a 23-year-old children's nurse.
She was funny, very laid back. She was a lovely person.
She had a love of live music and was helping her friend's band the night she vanished. Her body was found dumped 24 hours later, miles from Glasgow city centre.
It was everybody's worst nightmare. You know, their daughter's going out in the town, essentially for an innocent night out, and then never returning home because they've been victims of these horrendous murders.
These 3 murders have remained unsolved for 40 years. Could these women all be victims of Peter Tobin?
So where was Peter Tobin in 1977?
In the late 70s, Tobin was working for a car auction company, delivering cars across the UK. That was based in Glasgow, and also, more importantly, he's from Glasgow. His family are based there.
Strong links to Glasgow. So what we now need to establish is, can we connect Peter Tobin with the murders of Hilda McAuley, Agnes Cooney and Anna Kenny? And crucially, how were they killed? Is it a similar MO?
For decades, Peter Tobin was travelling back and forth between Scotland and the south coast. Where my investigation shows he's linked to the disappearance of Louise Kay from Eastbourne in 1988. He picked up lone women in his car before murdering them. But could Peter Tobin have been murdering in Scotland in 1977?
Someone like that, being able to travel throughout the UK in such a short space of time and stay in different areas, he's untraceable.
I know he killed Vicky Hamilton in Livingston, east of Glasgow in 1991.
Bother, very heady, coming back from town, going back up.
And I've been told by his first wife Margaret that his crimes stretch back to the 60s when he attempted to murder her.
What did he do between the 70s and the 2000s? Once a murderer, always a murderer.
I'm going to take a closer look at the Glasgow 3 murders. The first victim was Anna Kenny, a 20-year-old who vanished on her way home on the 5th of August. I've tracked down Anna's close friends to find out more about what might have happened to her that night.
Hello, Ruth.
Hello, Mark. Come in.
Thank you.
She was just, she always looked immaculate. She had such a beautiful smile, you know, it's hi girls, or what he's up to.
After leaving the hurdy-gurdy pub, Anna was seen waiting for a taxi. The last time anyone saw her alive.
And how would you get home after going out?
If there was somebody there to give us a lift, we'd take it.
What, from anyone?
That's, yep.
So complete stranger stopped at the side of the road, you'd get in?
Yep. We would only take it if it was 2 years, 2 people, never herself.
And would Anna take a lift?
Yep.
She did?
The things that we did when we were young, we were mad. But you don't think with the consequences, you don't think it's going to happen.
So do you think it's possible that on that night that Anna disappeared, she could have taken a lift from someone?
We have always said that.
It's a bit cold out there.
I think she took a lift and that person's murdered her. It's just so sad. I'm just getting emotional now. I just think it's horrible that they've never been done for her. I think it's so sad.
Although Anna Kenny was the first of the 3 Glasgow victims, her body was only found 20 months later, over 140 miles away on the Mull of Kintyre. Press reports at the time suggested her body had been concealed in a shallow grave, which fits Tobin's MO. But there are discrepancies. Her feet were bound with tights, which isn't how he left his other known victims. Former Detective Superintendent Eddie McCusker undertook a major review of the case in 2003.
So this is where Anna Kenny's body is found down here. Tell me what state she was in.
This was just a field sloping down to the stream. And it was on that slope that Anna's remains were found. She was partially buried. She was skeletal by that stage. She was gagged with an article of her own clothing being used. And they also found the ties that she had been bound with.
And buried, what did you make of that?
The officers concluded that an attempt had been made to bury Anna and conceal the body, but our inquiries showed without question that this stream, which is only a small trickle at the moment, the silt built up over 2 winters, and the silt eventually washed over, thereby giving the impression that she had been buried. It was the forces of nature and not the murderer that buried Anna.
Tobin was a sexual opportunist who hid or buried his victims. But if Anna Kenny was left in the open and not buried as previously reported, that doesn't fit Tobin's MO. I need to look at what happened to second victim, Hilda McAuley, killed 2 months later. to find out if she was murdered in a similar way to Anna Kenny.
So give me the background to Hilda McAuley's disappearance.
She was last seen leaving the Plaza Ballroom at approximately midnight on the 2nd of October 1977. Hilda's body was found approximately 12 hours after her last sighting. Our father and son were walking through here and came across Hilda's body. There was no attempt to conceal the body. It was almost a final act of humiliation to leave his victims in that way, in such an open location.
I've managed to get hold of the father's statement, which provides a shocking detailed account of how Hilda was found.
I looked over onto the body of a young woman. She was not covered with any bushes or leaves or anything. The first thing I noticed about the body was how white her skin was. Her arms, as far as I can remember, were tied behind her back. The girl's legs were also tied. There was what I thought was a scarf stuffed into the girl's mouth.
The third victim, Agnes Cooney, was murdered in December and dumped in a field. No attempt had been made to conceal her body. Like the other two victims, she had been bound, and her own sock had been used as a gag.
The more I look into the murder of the three Glasgow women, the less they fit Tobin's profile. The evidence just does not fit his offending.
But I hear from Eddie McCusker about another case, which could lead me to a new suspect.
But we do know for certain, just 2 weeks after Hilda was murdered, there was two women from Edinburgh, Helen Scott and Christine Eady, murdered in exactly the same way as Hilda McAuley was murdered.
This is really significant. I'm told the man responsible for these two Edinburgh murders is in prison, and he's not Peter Tobin. I'm investigating 3 notorious unsolved murders in Glasgow in 1977. Anna Kenny, Hilda McAuley and Agnes Cooney, all murdered within 4 months of each other.
The height of their week, Friday, Saturday night, was coming to the dances. Many of the victims came to the dance halls, and it was from there that they left and where they met their end.
After visiting the crime scenes of the 3 victims, I've heard evidence suggesting that they were all killed by the same offender, but not Peter Tobin. I've been told to look at a case in Edinburgh that could help my investigation. Two 17-year-olds, Helen Scott and Christine Eady, vanished from the World's End pub on the 15th of October 1977. They were found the next day, raped and strangled, then left in the open.
It was immediately plain to us we're dealing with something very different here. This was an organised, brutal crime. The manners of the deaths of the girls too suggested to us that this was someone who had done it before and would do it again.
The killing of Helen and Christine happened in October, right in the middle of the Glasgow 3 cases I'm investigating, and in very similar circumstances.
You can't separate the uniqueness of the way that Helen and Christine were murdered with the other murders. The similarities in terms of gagging, ligatures, violence to the body, left in an open location and taken on a weekend, Friday or Saturday. When you put that all together, it becomes a compelling case.
But there was one crucial difference between the Edinburgh killings and the 3 I'm investigating in Glasgow. This case was solved. Advances in forensics enabled police to obtain DNA from the ligature used to kill Christine. It led police straight to a killer, Angus Sinclair.
37 years after the World's End murders, 2 teenage girls have finally received justice with the conviction of a man who's been called Scotland's secret serial killer. Angus Sinclair has been found guilty of raping and strangling Christine Eadie and Helen Scott in 1977.
The World's End murders are thought to be the oldest crime to be prosecuted in Scotland. This conviction was one with 21st century DNA analysis of the girls' clothing.
Angus Sinclair was a Glasgow criminal who had no offending record in Edinburgh at all. He is small, he's only 5'4", but powerfully built, very muscular, a real handful, and lives his life in totally self-contained compartments. Never the twain shall meet. He's a painter and decorator, he's a husband and partner, but also the robber, he's a thief, he's a sexual predator, all completely self-contained.
Detectives questioned Angus Sinclair, suspecting his involvement in the murders I'm investigating.
On the advice of my solicitor, I've absolutely nothing further to say.
But their inquiries were severely hampered.
What did you have in relation to the Glasgow 3 murders?
We had no forensic evidence in the Glasgow cases, unfortunately. It had been destroyed or discarded. We never really found out why it was missing or where it had gone to, but it wasn't there.
What was the evidence that was lost?
All the crime scene evidence, all the forensic samples, everything that could have yielded DNA. The loss of the forensic evidence from the Glasgow cases was catastrophic.
There's no doubt the loss of the forensics for Anna Kenny, Agnes Cooney, Hilda McAuley had a massive impact in the reinvestigation, because in relation to Helen Scott and Christine Eadie, that ultimately is what they built their case on. We've got to go back to some of those basics, some of those simple trademark police investigations, building a case up, speaking to witnesses, getting the evidence and putting that case together.
I believe, and so do the police, that my original suspect, Peter Tobin, was not responsible for the Glasgow 3 murders. My focus now is on new prime suspect, Angus Sinclair. I've gained access to his early criminal record. It turns out he came to the attention of Glasgow police, aged 16.
Angus Sinclair had been on the police radar since 1961, when he murdered a 7-year-old girl.
Oh, hello, Catherine.
Angus Sinclair, from a very, very young age, has been unable to keep his hands off girls. If he can't get them to do what he wants willingly, he will forcibly take what he wants from them.
Angus Sinclair had enticed his neighbour's daughter, Catherine Rehill, into a block of flats. She was sexually assaulted and strangled. Sinclair then placed her body at the bottom of the stairs and claimed it was an accident.
When Angus Sinclair went to prison for the murder of Catherine Rehill, he learned to become a painter and decorator inside the jail, and that became his profession when he was released.
After serving only 6 years for killing Catherine Rehill, Sinclair was released from prison in 1968. He was 23 years old and appeared outwardly to be going on to start a new life. But the real Sinclair was hidden beneath the surface.
During his time in jail, he sees a psychiatrist, and the psychiatrist makes the following observations. As a result of my examination, I am of the opinion that this prisoner is in urgent need of constant care, control, and supervision. I do not think any form of psychotherapy is likely to benefit his condition, and he will constitute a danger from now onwards. He is obsessed by sex, and it is to be expected that given the minimum of opportunity, he will repeat these offences. And remember, that comes in the middle of a 10-year sentence, of which he comes out after 6 years, and he goes on and exactly does that. He goes on to kill.
Shortly after being released from prison, Angus Sinclair met his wife Sarah, an 18-year-old nurse at the local hospital. She was with Sinclair throughout the period I'm investigating and can give me a valuable insight into his behaviour and whereabouts during this time.
I've spent months talking to the ex-wife of Angus Sinclair, and she's never given a television interview. She's incredibly nervous and a very private person, but she's agreed to talk to help me investigate the murders.
Sarah has agreed to speak to me, provided I hide her identity.
You have never given a television interview. You've hardly spoken about Angus Sinclair. Why are you talking to me?
I don't know why this man has never been charged with everything that he has ever done.
Sarah tells me the couple moved to Glasgow and settled down to live a normal married life.
He was very polite, he was very kind, considerate. I was just really happy.
Did Angus have a routine when he would come home from work?
He would sit down and have his tea. If I was watching television, he'd be reading his newspapers. He used to read the newspaper from cover to cover. Not just one, various newspapers. He was an easy man to live with.
As a painter and decorator, Angus Sinclair had the opportunity to travel around Scotland. Sarah tells me that in the early years of their marriage, Sinclair would often disappear at the weekends.
Angus started going back and forward to Edinburgh every weekend. He was going to do extra work, painting and decorating.
So Angus would go on the Friday, and when would you see him again?
Possibly the Sunday night or the Monday.
During the 4-month period that the Glasgow Three were abducted and murdered, Sinclair would leave home and be gone for days at a time.
And you wouldn't hear from him at all?
No, I wouldn't hear from him.
And would you know what he was doing during those periods of time?
I started my investigation looking at one serial killer, and it's led me to another. Angus Sinclair, a convicted paedophile and murderer. The way in which he killed the Edinburgh teenagers bears a striking similarity to the unsolved Glasgow 3 murders. They were all abducted in 1977 over a 4-month period, bound and gagged and left in the open to be discovered miles from where they were last seen. But how did their bodies get there? I've gone back to the original press reports to look at the circumstances surrounding each of the murders.
There's information that will have come out in the 1970s at the specific time when they were first reported that has been lost over the years. What's in those newspapers is really, really important. Police are hunting a mass murderer. A grim hunt is underway now for a mass killer.
She was gagged and tied hand and foot by rope. As one detective said, you don't gag a dead person.
Detectives want to interview the driver of a white Ford Transit van. It was seen at midnight, 9 hours before her body was found, and only 100 yards from the murder spot.
The reported sighting of a white van in the same area as one of the murders could be significant. I'm looking again at the case of Hilda McAuley. I've located the statement from the first police officer at the scene, which reveals a potential clue.
What he says, there was no clothing nearby, but I do remember that there were fresh tyre marks about 7 yards from the body to the left near the railway line. There were 2 tyre marks which had obviously been made by a car or van. It was not a double axle vehicle, but it looked like the front tyre had run over the back tyre or vice versa. And the reason why that potentially is interesting is that if I can get hold of the crime scene photographs, I may be able to match that up with a vehicle that Angus Sinclair owned.
Alan Jones investigated Angus Sinclair's background in 2003.
What did you find out in relation to Sinclair's vehicles?
What we found out is that he purchased a Toyota Hiace van in early 1977.
In June 1977, a few months before the first murder, Angus Sinclair bought a white Toyota caravanette. Could he have used this vehicle to pick up the women and transport them to the crime scenes?
The caravanette, we thought it was a good idea because we could go holidays in Scotland with our son. It was quite nicely done out, it had little curtains, and when you put the seating down, it turned into beds.
Did Angus ever lend his caravanette to anybody else to use?
It was his only mode of transport. He never loaned it out.
What else did he carry in the caravanette?
He had most of his tools. Peter wire, he'd have ropes, screwdrivers, he'd have drills, he'd have cable. I just think it's an odd thing to say tights.
But did he have tights in his caravanette?
Yes.
The first two victims, Anna Kenny and Hilda McAuley, were both bound using a pair of torn tights. Could these be the same tights Sinclair kept in his caravanette?
Where would he get the tights from?
Oh, mainly from me. Whenever I was finished with a pair of tights, I would put them in his toolbox.
Sinclair used to use tights to strain paint from one tin to the other. So on many occasions he would have tights in his car.
So there's a direct linkage between Sinclair having tights in his car and tights being brought to the crime scenes of some of the girls.
But it takes a degree of skill to be able to tie them in such a manner that you're going to immobilise people, especially if it's a stretchy material, and he seems to have had that skill.
We know that the murder victims were all transported by a vehicle, taken from Glasgow city centre to where they were eventually found, and looking at the reports, there are sightings of a caravanette near to the crime scenes. And in June 1977, Angus Sinclair buys himself a Toyota Hiace caravanette. Crucially, can we put his caravanette there? Can someone tell us they saw a car with the registration number either exactly the same or similar to? Because if we can, that's crucial.
Can Sinclair's caravanette be placed at the crime scene of the first victim, Anna Kenny, who was abducted after leaving the hurdy-gurdy pub? I've tracked down the shepherd who found her remains. In his police statement, he claims to have seen a similar vehicle in the same area and on the same weekend Anna disappeared. Could this be Angus Sinclair's caravanette?
Having met a very close friend of Anna Kenny's, her worry at the time, and indeed even now, is that on the night that Anna Kenny disappeared, she took a lift from somebody. And if that is the case, she must have got into a car, the offender drove her 141 miles from Glasgow to the point where her body was discovered some 20 months later by a shepherd who I am now on my way to meet.
The shepherd, Alex McKeish, still works on the same farm that he did when he saw the suspect vehicle.
So Alex, tell me about the weekend you saw the caravanette.
I was coming along the road to go up onto my hill. It was the middle of summer and the vehicle was parked.
And what brought your attention to the vehicle?
Well, it was sitting with the curtains drawn and doors closed, and it was a lovely warm afternoon. And I thought, that's a bit strange. Usually folk would be out, you know, enjoying the sunshine, but there was nobody to be seen at all.
This is the picture of the caravanette that belonged to Angus Sinclair. Does that look similar?
Pretty similar. I can't remember whether the roof was up at the time or not, though.
Yeah, I mean, the roof may have been down.
I think it probably was.
And how do you remember it was that weekend?
Well, I remember it quite clearly. We'd been competing at a sheepdog trial on the Saturday.
I need to confirm if this was the same weekend Anna was murdered. There's a way to find out. He has a photo of the sheepdog competition, and the date engraved on the trophy corresponds to the same weekend.
The key for any witness, particularly when you're talking about something that happened many years previously, is to be able to identify something significant in their life that enables them to remember that exact date. The shepherd's been able to remember an event that took place in his life, winning of a sheepdog trial, and place that at the same weekend that he saw the caravanette, the same weekend Anna Kenny vanished from Glasgow.
Although the shepherd can't be 100% certain he saw Sinclair's vehicle, it's clear that I'm on the right track. What further evidence could link Sinclair's caravanette to the other crime scenes?
The caravanette is a consistent theme that runs throughout the murder investigations, and everyone I speak to says for him it was such a precious vehicle. He wouldn't lend it to somebody else. He wouldn't let somebody else even drive it. It was him. It was his little baby. And in fact, it became known, sadly, to the investigations team as the murder wagon.
Children's nurse Agnes Cooney was the third victim in the Glasgow murders. On the 3rd of December 1977, after spending the evening enjoying a band, Agnes left in the early hours and was last seen walking home. Her body was found the next day, 23 miles from Glasgow, in a farmer's field. Is there evidence that connects Sinclair's vehicle to her disappearance?
The body of Agnes was found along this track.
How would she end up here?
There was a sighting of a young woman matching the description of Agnes, seen thumbing for a lift.
And we also know that Angus Sinclair did pick people up.
I'm actually just 10 minutes down the road.
Yes, there is strong evidence for that. Many of these women were in vulnerable situations. They'd been out for the evening, they were drinking, they were on their own.
Detectives believe she was likely kept captive for 24 hours before being killed.
We know that when she was abducted, she had alcohol in her blood. She'd been out drinking. Yet when her body was found, she had no alcohol in her body at all. So what is becoming more and more clear is that Angus Sinclair was holding on to his victims for a period of time, from the point that he abducted them to the time that he dumped them.
If he did keep his victims captive, a caravanette could be the perfect place to hold them. I found a crucial witness in the original police files. The night after Agnes was last seen, he told police he saw a white van in the same vicinity as where her body was found. He's agreed to speak to me, provided his identity is protected.
So describe that vehicle to me. So you're driving along here.
And became pretty close behind it. It looked like a Volkswagen caravanette. It was a caravanette. And I noticed that the registration number was RGG and finished with R. And that was similar to a registration my father's at that time, his current car. And that went through my mind.
And driving quite normally or erratically?
No, not erratically at all. Just a steady, probably similar speeds that we're doing just now. He slowed up and indicated left, and we turned right.
Right. And that's the last you saw of that caravanette?
Yeah.
At the time, the witness described it as a Volkswagen, not Sinclair's Toyota, but I wonder if he'd be able to identify the vehicle if he saw it today.
So this is the caravanette. As it turned left, you would have got a sight of the left-hand side of it. Does that look the same or similar to? You can see the registration number. RGG 216R.
That's the vehicle. I can be sure of that.
Well, that vehicle belonged at that time to Angus Sinclair. And prior to me showing you this, had anyone else shown you it?
No.
What do you think now, having seen that?
I'm so sure that's the vehicle.
it's so important because he can now place the vehicle that belonged to Angus Sinclair in the locality where Agnes Cooney's body was found, and that is with certainty the same night that Agnes Cooney's body will have been dumped.
In 1977, the police looked for Volkswagens matching the witness's description, not Toyotas. This simple oversight may have allowed Angus Sinclair to slip through the net.
If they'd gone after Toyota Hiace at that point, they'd have got him, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
He needed to get rid of that vehicle as quickly as possible because that vehicle connected him to the murders.
He disposed of the caravanette shortly after the death of Agnes Cooney. It still had its original carpets and upholstery. And many times I've thought about what evidence lay in that camper van. We may have found traces of Anna, Hilda, Agnes, and who knows who else. And we missed it by months. That was scrapped.
I've built a case against Angus Sinclair based on eyewitnesses who can place his caravanette at the crime scenes. But without any forensic evidence to go on, I need to go back to the confidential police files to see if there's a way I can place Sinclair himself at any of these locations.
So I've been given a mass of paperwork. It's come from former police officers, some serving police officers, journalists, and some contacts that I've developed. And amongst this paperwork are the crucial pieces of information which will enable me to take this investigation further forward. And crucially, some of the sightings of Angus Sinclair.
Buried in the files are details of a witness. She was parked in a lay-by, a few hundred yards away from where Hilda McAuley's body was found. She claims to have seen a man walking nearby and was questioned by police in 1977 and later identified as suspect. I'm on my way to the Channel Islands to find out if the person she saw was Angus Sinclair.
So I'm on my way to the address, and this is really hit and miss. She may be in, she may not be in, she might not even live there. Hello, Mark Williams-Thomas. Could I have a quick chat with you?
The eyewitness agrees to tell me her story, but wants her identity disguised.
It was in a lay-by. I was in a car. I happened to see a man come out of and walk up by the lane past me.
And you got a good look at him?
Yeah.
Describe him to me.
He had on a parka. He wasn't very tall.
What I would like to do now is show you a photograph of our suspect. And I want you to tell me if this is the man that you saw that night.
Yeah.
That's him?
That's him.
Is there anything noticeable about him?
It's his eyes.
His eyes?
Yeah. It's his eyes.
That is Angus Sinclair. Does that name mean anything to you?
Not at all, no.
Doesn't mean anything?
No.
You've never heard that name before?
No, I've never, no.
your evidence is really crucial, because up until now, we've been able to place Angus Sinclair's vehicle at the murder scenes, but not him. Your evidence now places Angus Sinclair at the murder of Hilda McAuley.
I feel sick.
Yeah. What she's just told me is really crucial. She has now been able to place Angus Sinclair at Hilda McAuley's murder scene in the early hours of the 2nd of October 1977. We've already been able to place his caravanette, but not him. And crucially, when I showed her the picture, her reaction said it all. She said with certainty, that is the man I saw.
My investigation shows the manner in which the Glasgow Three were killed bears all the hallmarks of the World's End murders in Edinburgh, for which Angus Sinclair was convicted.
What are you off to?
I'm actually just 10 minutes down the road.
I tell you what, jump in, I'll get you a lift. I don't mind, I've no pressure.
I can place Sinclair or his caravanette at all 3 of the Glasgow crime scenes, which means I believe Sinclair could be responsible for the abduction and murder of Anna Kenny, Hilda McAuley and Agnes Cooney.
Just a big, jolly, bubbly, good-hearted, funny person, you know. She was a lovely person. Still miss her.
She's been with thoughts quite a lot.
And how do you think, 40 years on, the fact that there is no justice?
That really hurts me. There must be something they can do to get this person, bring him to justice, because why should they get off with what they did?
How many other people do you think Angus Sinclair has killed?
I don't believe that he ever stopped. They seem to think he had a period of time where he went on a spree. I think he was 10 years of mayhem in the city of Glasgow.
My investigation continues. 40 years of unsolved murders, many unanswered questions, and what I learn next is truly disturbing. Another murder in 1977, which appears to have been committed by the same killer, but this crime was solved. Was a man wrongly imprisoned, allowing Angus Sinclair to slip through the net and remain free to kill again?